Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's go to the front lines review and let's start from Avdiivka, the hottest spot from all of the front lines. I would say that the situation for Ukrainian army is critical, at the same time it is not catastrophic, because the main Russian assault vector stopped for today. According to the latest military map update, there were no any movements from the Russian side on the northern part from Avdiivka. If we check the timeline, we may see the expansion of the gray area in this place. That's it. With this fast Russian advancement, they are still not able to create a reliable bridgehead, not even speaking about the defense of their forces in this place. Potentially, Ukraine has the chance to cut Russian forces out from their positions, but the probability of it is very low. From what I know, Ukraine already tried to perform this mission this morning. However, it wasn't successful. What stops the Russian army in a place is this river that goes to Avdiivka town. It is a natural obstacle and Russia has a hard time moving southbound. That's why they want to expand this bridgehead to avoid being encircled or cut from their supplies, and they advance towards Lostachkina now. That's why we see this gray area expansion. Compared to previous days, Russian army slowed down gradually in this place and there is no any movement, as I said to you. Let's go to the south of Avdiivka. Yesterday I told you that our guys were able to evacuate from this place, then Russia closed this back. Well, today we got the details of so-called evacuation. A part of Ukrainian army is still there, encircled. Those who were wounded and unable to move with their own legs stayed in the place. We have the confirmation about 6 of Ukrainian soldiers at least. We know it from this video with a Ukrainian soldier who stayed at the place, who was shrapnelled and all of his legs are broken. He spoke with his wife and the wife presented this talk as the evidence for Ukrainian military army command calling for evacuation, but I guess it's too late to evacuate those guys. Unfortunately, they are in desperate. He says that there are 6 of the men, 4 of them are totally disabled because of the wounds, and the evacuation is not possible. By the time of the talk, Russians were also unable to reach them, probably couldn't find. One more evidence we have from the Ukrainian soldier who posted how he evacuated from the Zenith area, from the southern area of Avdiivka. He managed to do it, but was nearly killed by Russians. He said that they had tremendous losses by the time of evacuation. He said that Ukrainian army commanders were not able to organize evacuation for them, so they start to withdraw from the place on 14th of February, so a couple of days ago. And definitely it was a very hard task for them to evacuate, because the distance between the Russian positions is 422 meters, which is a little less than 1,400 feet. Very short distance. And Russians obviously were waiting for Ukrainian army evacuation, so they aimed everything they had in this area and in this area to target the place. That's why from the 10 soldiers in this evacuation group, only 2 made it unwounded. Our soldier who managed to get out from the place told that military command promised to evacuate the wounded personnel. However, the evacuation wasn't conducted. There is the high chance that now Russians already captured our soldiers in the Zenith part of Avdiivka. Later on, one of the officers from the 3rd Assault Brigade confirmed that some of the forces of Ukrainian army were encircled in Avdiivka. Here we are not speaking about hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers, but the small groups indeed were encircled. And I think that we need to tell truth. We need to say as it is. But you know what? The General Tarnavsky, who is the commander of the group in Avdiivka, told that everything is okay, the situation is controllable. Yes, the fight is heavy, he says, but we sent more forces to withstand Avdiivka, something like that. But under the pressure of facts, General Tarnavsky finally admitted that some of the Ukrainian forces were indeed encircled, and some were even imprisoned by Russian forces. How it's better to say, General Tarnavsky is not really popular among Ukrainian soldiers, because he is the Soviet dinosaur from the old Soviet military school, and many say that he should retire and take that school together with him. Our army needs new reforms and new commanders, because as we see, the situation in Bakhmut continues in Avdiivka. Our army is not learning on its own mistakes. sending more and more forces to Avdiivka, which is now under the risk of being encircled. You know, guys, I'm not the military expert, but I know the attitude towards our generals from our soldiers. I communicate with some of the volunteers, and indeed they have this attitude towards that particular guy and in general for Ukrainian army. Also, one of the biggest Ukrainian volunteers filmed today the video about the case, saying the same stuff that I just told you. So this situation is known. As I told you already, I'm not the military guy, I'm not the military expert, but even for me it was understandable that there is the chance that this area could be encircled. I told about it probably on 10th of February. It was the time that the group of Ukrainian soldiers deployed to this area had all the chances to withdraw from the place, safely saving all of the lives of their group. But now many of them wounded, many of them being killed during the withdrawal, and some were imprisoned by the Russian soldiers. We know 100% that this evacuation wasn't organized by Ukrainian military command, so soldiers had to leave their positions on their own, going somewhere, just saving their lives. It is terrible, again, that in Ukrainian army we see the same mistakes. I'm not opening you some of the secrets, no, this information is public, it is available on Ukrainian social media, on Telegram groups, everywhere, with the fact check, so everything is valid. We have the proof that Russia was able to capture some of the Ukrainian soldiers, at least one of them. He was giving some of the responses to the questions of the Russian occupier. Watching this video, I would say 99% that it is legit and this is really a Ukrainian soldier. Based on his reaction, answers, and general on his speech, they were speaking Russian, but I know the accent. It is the Ukrainian one. But we see that Ukraine started the evacuation of the eastern side of Avdiivka to the city center. It is good, at least. We may check it out by zooming to this area, and let's check out the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. Russia captured this area. We have the confirmation about it from the deep state military map source, and we have also the confirmation about it from the Russian publics, from their media sources. They put Georgievsky flag in one of the areas of the places I just showed you. Also on the east you can see a huge expansion of the gray area. It means that the Ukrainian army is moving out. So it was yesterday, it is today, all of those fields being captured by Russians. However, here we have the terrain change. So let's go to the 3D map just briefly. So Russia just advanced in this area, and let me show you the terrain in the place. So here we have the forest, and it goes down a little. It means that Russia has some sort of the advantage in terrain, but later on they will face the advantage of Ukrainian army because it will go up later on, and also there is the natural obstacle, the river. So this Russian attack is not the easy one for them. But we also need to think about the worst case scenario for Ukrainian army, the full encirclement of Ukrainian group in Avdiivka. Because what Ukrainian army is doing right now is sending more forces to withstand this territory. Yes, partially our forces were withdrawn to the town center, but as Ukrainian General Tarnavsky says, quote, Ukrainian soldiers are maneuvering out of destroyed positions and entrenching themselves on new lines of defense. Entrenching themselves, it means that the defense lines were not prepared for them and soldiers have to dig new trenches using their own shovels, while the city itself could be used as the defense line, all of the streets, all of the houses. But again, the fighting in the urban environment will bring Ukrainian army lots of the losses. One of the Azov regiment commanders, Bogdan Kurtevich, said that Ukraine should choose the other tactics, not to attack directly to the Russian forces, but to bypass them and counterattack from the sides. That's what the Ukrainian army is doing right now, under the command of the Soviet dinosaurs. Here he says, what plan would you choose, number 1 or number 2? The situation is real, he says. Later on he posted this one, not right to do, so direct attack in Avdiivka, going inside the area under the huge risk of being encircled, or as he thinks, the proper variant, attack from the flanks to this area, to other areas all around to disperse the Russian attacking forces, with a main strike on the northern part. I totally 100% agree with this scenario, even though, as I said to you, I am not the military expert. But we have one big but. Ukraine is out of the resources to perform those huge missions. First of all, from our main ally, the United States of America. We have some bad news from the House of Representatives. I'm gonna tell you them a little later. Now let's go back to the town of Avdiivka. Let's choose the colorful map, the satellite image. So Russia also advanced towards the city center a little today. They're putting their flags everywhere so it's easy to spot them from the drones. So they advanced in this area, taking some of the quarters, but still they're quite far away from the city center, I would say. And Russia continued to use lots of the aviation bombs. So here are the Russian soldiers near to the monument for the fallen soldiers of the Second World War, or as Russia calls it, the Great Patriotic War. The monument is located in this square. This video of the Kaksahim plant was filmed by the soldiers of the 3rd Assault Brigade deployed to Avdiivka. By the way, before General Tarnowski said that no, the 3rd Assault Brigade is not over there. Also, the 3rd Assault Brigade publishes the video from the basement under the plant, where they have some of the barracks and medical facility. This place is used as the temporary shelter to get some sleep, to have some food, medical treatment, and obviously the briefing with commander is also conducted over here. Honestly, it reminds me Azovstal. From what I see, the Ukrainian Army Command is willing to defend Avdiivka as long as possible. But it was a very close call for Ukrainian army in this area, and we understand that evacuation wasn't organized, so I hope that the evacuation or withdrawal of the forces, you may say, will be organized at the proper time from Avdiivka town itself, because Russia here is very close. If they cut the main supply road to Siverna, it is already too late. That is why probably Ukrainian Army Command starts to withdraw the forces from the eastern flank at first and then from that town. Yes, losing Avdiivka is very bad for Ukrainian tactics and from the strategical perspective as well, because it's very close to the biggest city which is occupied by the Russian army. We're speaking about the eastern side of Ukraine. But the main reason of all of this case is not even the Ukrainian Army Command, old dinosaurs from USSR, no. It is the lack of resources. And only after that we have some of the strange commanders in Ukrainian army indeed. And I worry about Syrsky because he organized the defense of Bakhmut, where Ukraine lost quite a lot of the forces. So whether it will be the same scenario, for now it's hard to say. But the fight is unequal in Avdiivka. Russia has many more aviation bombs and other stuff to target Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian army is unable to cope with the Russian bombers, which drop the aviation bombs, the gliding bombs on our positions. There is no tool to target those airplanes. The deployment of Patriot systems isn't possible near to the east. First of all, Ukraine might lose those systems and will have nothing to defend our cities. So what we need are F-16s equipped with the proper missiles to eliminate the threat from the Russian bombers, which drop the bombs. But we also have some of the good news from the front lines. Just light but advancement of Ukrainian army. If we go to the north from Avdiivka to Shumy, there will be also Mayorsk over here. And Ukraine got successful attack vector in the place, going through the railroad towards the Russian position, so Russians had to retreat. It was possible because Russia moved their forces from the place to act in Avdiivka. According to the intercepted data, Russia sends more and more reinforcements from all the places around. In Avdiivka now Russia has the most losses in this war, even more than in Bakhmut. Here we speak about soldiers per day ratio. This message was shared from the Russian group. They are totally in shock because they are losing 1,300 soldiers per day in Avdiivka. What is happening in Avdiivka is out of any limits and beyond understanding. Russians say that they have problems with medical treatment and most of the wounded soldiers are not making it to the morning time. Lots of the relatives are calling no word, so definitely the situation for Russians is also very difficult, maybe even more compared to Ukraine. Just imagine Ukrainian army been losing 1,300 soldiers per day. It's just crazy, unbelievable. But the Russian army commanders are okay with it because taking Avdiivka is not the military goal for the Russian army, it's the political goal for Putin, and they don't care and Putin himself personally doesn't care how many soldiers and how many officers he just wastes in this stupid operation. Ukrainian drones again spotted the Starlink antenna on the enemy side and successfully targeted it with the help of the drone. There are multiple proofs that Starlink is used by the Russian army. Ukrainian soldiers performed a successful mission on the south, capturing the Russian boat. Guys, some of the videos I'm unable to share with you on this platform, so if you want to have access to more content, please check out my Telegram. It is located in the video description just below. There is low censorship, so I may post lots of the other stuff on that platform. Again, uncensor it myself, so will you not find the heavy image for you or for your wife probably, but the general fighting scenes are available out there. Here we have the image of two Ukrainian T-72 tanks moving out from one position to another in Avdiivka, or moving out from Avdiivka. I'm not sure where they're actually going, but the operator says that it is the road which goes from Avdiivka. If it goes from, it also may go into the place. One tank was hit by the Russian anti-tank weaponry, probably, and the active armor is burning a little. Nevertheless, tank continue its operations. The big news for today that the Russian opposition leader who was imprisoned in Russia in 2021, Alexei Navalny, found dead in the Russian prison. The Russian medics say that he got the blood clogging because of the thrombosis, which led to the heart attack and heart failure. I would say that Putin really tortured Navalny. Not a long time ago he was moved to the other prison because a new judge accused him with new crimes, so he got the colony. So he was in a really terrible condition. Moreover, he was closed in punishment cell for many times. So we understand that he was tortured to death by Putin. For me personally, Navalny is a controversial figure. He started his career from the nationalistic Russian movement. However, later he moved to more liberal wing. So why is he a controversial person as for me? Of course, he would be a better president for the Russian Federation, but he said that Crimea is not a butterbrot to move it back to Ukraine. So at least he said that he is not interested in returning the occupied territories. I am from Crimea myself, so it really touched me a lot, and I don't like this person because of that statement. It is my, let's say, personal attitude. I might also say that later he changed his mind and he said in prison already that Ukraine should be recognized in the borders of 1991. It means including Crimea. First of all, he was used to create the crack in the Russian society. Good Russians and bad Russians. Yes, we understand that some of the good Russians also would like to restore the Russian Empire, but in more democratic way, not using the weaponry, but still those are imperialists. I do not believe really in democratic Russia any longer. Well, it might be for some time, but later on the new leader comes like Putin and everything will go back to autocracy. So for us, for Ukrainians, and I believe for the rest of the world, the best case scenario would be for Russia to disintegrate into many of the countries like it happened to the Soviet Union. In that case, it will not present a threat to the world any longer. Navalny was a real patriot of the Russian Federation. He wanted his country to grow, first of all in economical way, but later on a new president could attack other countries because after all it is Russia. Even then it was a democratic state, more or less. Russia started the war in Chechnya, 2 wars to be more correct, also in Georgia and now Ukraine. Also Syria, by the way. And it happened throughout the Russian history in general. However, Navalny was really useful for Ukraine at this particular moment, because with his opposition movement he gathered lots of the people who are against Putin, but again we don't see huge protests in the Russian Federation. With Navalny's death, there is no more a leader for the Russian opposition movement. Well, there is some guy, YouTuber named Katz. I think that he's more Israeli than Russian after all. And he's not really a leader, I would say. Navalny was, and Putin also was scared about this character. That is why he killed him. Maybe not today, but he created conditions, long-term conditions for Navalny just to collapse. Putin closed Navalny after this video was shared on his channel. The video is 1 hour and 52 minutes long, but it has 129 million views for the Russian audience. It is one of the most watched video on the Russian language, if not the most watched. Almost 2 million comments under this video is just crazy. So if we speak about the real journalism, it's not about the Tucker Carlson who would sell his mother for penny, it's about this guy, Navalny. Navalny's biggest mistake was to return to Russia after the medical treatment in Germany. Somehow he decided to go back and he was arrested in airport, later on prosecuted and put it in jail for more than 20 years. And today is the outcome, death. After the Russian opposition leader lost, it would be hard to divide the Russian society. Putin knew that, and that is why it happened. Putin is openly killing the opposition. Before it was Nemtsov. Also, I would say that Prigozhin was in opposition to Putin and in general for the Russian power. He even shut down some of the helicopters and airplane marching to Moscow, so clearly it is the opposition act, let's say, the act of war. Navalny's opposition would never even beat the Russian policeman, but Prigozhin, oh my god, it was a real one. Later on we know that Prigozhin changed his mind on the way, but it didn't save him. Putin openly screams that I'll destroy anyone opposing to my power. From more or less democratic state, Russia went to total chaos of dictatorship. But you know what? The majority of dictators usually finish as their victims. Well, President Biden already commented on the topic, saying that Putin is responsible for Navalny's death. Probably those are the only consequences for Russia in this case. Alright guys, we have just received the new military update from Avdiivka place. And it's getting harder. Unfortunately, Russia continued their major assault using this vector. Moreover, from what I understood, they start to advance from this side as well. It is not good. Let's check out the timeline. In general, for this area, it was this morning, and it is today. So you see the expansion of the Russian bridgehead, let's say over here. They're touching this river, and the river is very close to the supply road, which is the only remaining road in this place. The gray area extends beyond this road, so it's critical for Ukraine to move out the forces today. Otherwise, it's gonna be too late. Let's check out the distance between the gray areas. So it is less than 2 kilometers. We need to move out because here is the only road possible. Otherwise, our forces would withdraw using just the fields. As usual, the Russian tactics is to aim artillery on the way out for Ukrainian forces. That is how they cause losses. So now it's not too late to withdraw, but tomorrow maybe it's gonna be late. As it happened, for example, here on the south, where our guys, some of them, yes, not many, but still were encircled. I'm not a military guy, but I see it from my own perspective, from my logic. We need to leave Avdiivka. I posted this one on my Telegram channel. Biden warns of devastating consequences for Russia in case Navalny dies in prison. Just check the date, maybe he already forgot what happened 2.5 years ago. By the time Ukrainian soldiers are fighting with Russians in Avdiivka, the House Speaker Mike Johnson decided that it's time for the House to have some rest till the end of February. Yes, he announced the vacation for the House. Johnson is just a puppet of the MAGA forces in the House, that's it. And they're very interested for Ukraine to lose in this war. Let me remind you why United States should support Ukraine. At first, it is because of the agreement. Ukraine cut all of the modern bombers best in the world. We are speaking about Tupolev 160. Still, they are the best, yes. All of the Ukrainian nukes and missiles to carry them were sent to Russia or were recycled. It was promoted by our American friends or partners as exchange for security guarantees. Yes, it was memorandum, but it was signed by all of the parties. And we are not asking our fellow Americans to fight in Ukraine. We just ask for the tools to fight in conventional war, because we lost our nukes. So I think that it's fair for Ukraine to obtain nuclear weaponry again, somehow. if the United States would cancel their support for Ukraine. Moreover, the other countries in the world see that the words from the United States of America that they will secure some of the country means nothing. And they should obtain nuclear weaponry too. So it's the matter of time that we'll see many more nuclear countries. And it will lead to nuclear conflicts, nuclear wars. And why? Mike Johnson. Oh guys, today it was a really hard video for me, and we got lots of the bad information, especially from the front lines. Nevertheless, please press your like to this video. It really helps to promote this video on YouTube. And also, if you want to support my job, I encourage you to check out some of the links below. You may support me on Patreon or on the sponsorship of this YouTube channel. Guys, thank you so much for your help. As usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.